Who is a 6th Ranger? And what even is a 6th Ranger? Today we are going to be discussing the concept of and who is a 6th Ranger in the Super Sentai franchise. Now, if you went and asked any fan of Super Sentai what a 6th Ranger is, or a fan of Power Rangers as well, you are probably going to get a similar answer to what a 6th Ranger is, but you're definitely going to get some different answers about who a 6th Ranger is. So, for every fan, what a 6th Ranger is a different definition, and technically there is no wrong definition with it, because even any kind of official statements that we get from Toei don't really always are consistent. Just like that sentence was not much of a sentence. In my own words, what is a 6th Ranger? Well, it can be a couple of different things. First of all, it could be a Ranger with the number 6. There are a lot of 6th Rangers in the franchise that literally could not be more clearly a 6th Ranger because they use a gimmick item that's number 6, or they have a 6 on their suit somewhere, or they actually just debut in the show as the 6th Ranger to show up in that series. Then you of course have some exceptions to this, which we'll get into in a little bit, and that can kind of muddy that definition of a 6th Ranger. A more broad determination for what a 6th Ranger is really kind of what I think is the more official way of describing a 6th Ranger, and that is the hero who joins the team during the second quarter of Toys. It's no secret, Super Sentai and all of Tokusatsu really are toy commercials. And of course, when we hit to about a month at this point, but used to be like 3 to 4 months into a Sentai series, they would introduce an extra member to sell a new robot, to sell a new changer, a new gimmick item or something. Just add to the overall toy line once the main team stuff has already been well established and on shelves for a long time. And that is really the role that every single 6th Ranger has ever played, regardless if they are officially counted as the 6th or whatever. If a 6th Ranger is a 6th Ranger, they've usually filled that role all of the time. Now, about 10 years ago, the YouTube channel RangerReview uploaded a video titled Who is Who, where they discussed who is a 6th Ranger and an extra hero. Now, this channel has always been one of my all-time favorite YouTube channels for Power Ranger stuff, so this video is inspired by and influenced by that video. And since it's been 10 years since that video, and 10 years since Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, which is a good baseline for what a 6th Ranger is, and in my head, since I entered Tokusatsu with Sentai in Gokaiger, that's kind of where my definition for a 6th Ranger comes from, especially from the Gokai Cellular, which is where, you know, the original kind of lineup of who was officially counted as a 6th Ranger kind of came from. Going in order from top to bottom: Gosei Knight, Gokai Silver, Kiba Ranger, Boken Silver, Dragon Ranger, Mega Silver, Keen Ranger, Gohan Gold and Gohan Silver, Shinken Gold, Shurikenger, Abre Killer, Maji Shine, Gal Silver, Time Fire, and Deca Break. Now, that is a pretty good way to start with that lineup there. There are, of course, some teams that have problems. Aba Ranger, for example, Abre Killer is the 5th member of the team, not the 6th. Technically, there is no 6th member of Aba Ranger, but Abre Killer does fill that role of showing up later on, bringing his own changer into the things, bringing his own robot with Killer O into things, and so for all intents and purposes, he does fit the role of a 6th Ranger, which is where the kind of title itself is flawed. A 6th Ranger is not always number 6, in both number on the suit, or in, of course, appearance, or even the amount on the team. Geki Ranger is another problem. In my opinion, I can't count Geki Chopper as a 6th Ranger because I'm so hardwired in my brain from Gokaiger logic that whenever I see Geki Chopper, I just don't associate him to be a 6th Ranger. But why isn't he? When taking a look at kind of official acknowledgements of 6th Rangers, of course Gokaiger is a good starting point, but Toei and Bandai have been nothing but inconsistent for the last 10 years. It was nice in 2011 to get kind of a quote-unquote official designation list with Gokaiger, but it was not the end-all be-all. Now, one thing that people might want to look at is the Super Sentai Encyclopedia book that just came out last month. You would think, does this finally answer our questions as to who is a 6th officially? No, it has like a dotted line for a team that kind of has their 6 off to the side, and it doesn't always line up with Zenkaiger logic. Maskman has a dotted line in the book. There's X1 Mask with the dotted line, which is interesting because based off of the logic of the layout of the book, X1 Mask would be considered a 6th Ranger. Zenkaiger doesn't say that he ever is, but that's what's interesting. X1 Mask is very similar to Magna Warrior from Bioman. They both appeared in basically 1 to 2 episodes of their respective series, but since they were before Dragon Ranger's time of Zyuranger, they aren't officially counted as 6 Rangers for their teams. While Magna Warrior has been blatantly ignored for Sentai lore for a majority of the past 10 years, never being brought up in Zenkaiger, never releasing a Ranger key for him, and is not even mentioned in the book, X1 Mask has seemed to be getting some sort of retroactive inclusion as a 6th Ranger, not only in this book, but they did go back in 2015 and release a Ranger key for him in the Ranger key set Lost Edition set. So, for all intents and purposes, even though it's Zenkaiger claimed against it, X1 Mask can sort of be officially counted as the first official 6th Ranger for a Sentai team. Now, a lot of people are going to be hard to convince to not have Dragon Ranger be the official first 6th Ranger with Zyuranger, not only because of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but also the fact that X1 Mask, he doesn't bring in a new mecha to Maskman, he doesn't bring in a new changer, and he doesn't really fit the role of fulfilling that 2nd quarter requirement for the toys. But then again, back then in Sentai lore, there wasn't gimmicks. There wasn't, so much of an emphasis on mecha and, I guess, the toy line in general. So he probably was never supposed to try to fulfill that requirement. So it is hard to judge him on that basis. Don't even get me started about what Zenkaiger did, which is weird. The Super Sentai Encyclopedia lists the 6 as Gosei Green. From this point, I want to kind of go through all the teams past Zenkaiger and who I would say is officially their 6th. When taking a look at Go Busters, it's a season very similar to Gecky Ranger or Aba Ranger, where they technically don't have a 6th Ranger. But in my eyes, the 6th Ranger for this team would be very similar to what Go Andra did when they counted both Go on Gold and Go on Silver, and that is count Beat and Stag Buster as one single 6th Ranger. They don't fulfill the 6th in terms of the team number requirement, but they do fulfill the 2nd quarter requirement, having come in with brand new changers, brand new mecha, and things like that, and basically, accelerate the Go Busters toy line as much as that toy line could during the 2nd quarter of the series. Now, what's interesting about that is when you get to things like Dobutsu Sentai Go Busters, the V-Cinema team that happened in the Go Busters vs. Go Busters special. Since that whole special focused on this parody team of Go Busters that was parodying different Sentai tropes, they actually had a 6th Ranger who was not Beat or Stag Buster at all. In that universe, Gold Beetle and Silver Stag were just part of the core Dobutsu Sentai Go Busters team, and their 6th was Green Hippopotamus, with Black Puma fulfilling the extra hero slot. In fact, the Dobutsu Sentai Go Busters, even though they were a made-up Sentai team, basically checked off all the correct boxes on heroes, which I'm sure was the intent. So that's kind of interesting there. Go Busters, you can go one direction, and I'd say that they're the 6th in the main prime timeline, and then of course you can have Green Hippopotamus in the secondary timeline. Using the past to figure out the present is kind of what we can do with Kyoryuger. Kyoryuger is a very similar situation to Deca Ranger, where Kyoryu Gold, for all intents and purposes, is definitely the 6th Ranger of the team. He's a color commonly used by a 6th Ranger. Gold and silver is pretty much all they use at this point. Also, he shows up for the 2nd quarter toys, bringing with him his number 6 Judenshi for Terra Gordon. He comes in with Terra Gordon. But what's interesting with him is that he's not the 6th to show up. Kyoryu Seian is, who showed up about 4 to 5 episodes prior to him with not a changer per se, but he did show up with Ankidam, the next mecha. But he wasn't in the 2nd quarter catalogs for scans or anything, or the quarter of toys. And really, Kyoryu Seian didn't really get any toys other than his mecha and his Judenshi and everything. But since he didn't have a changer and everything, Kyoryu Seian is basically an extra hero, while Gold is definitely the 6th. Also, Cyan and Gray and Violet and Silver are all reoccurring characters in Kyoryuger, while Gold is a mainstay. He joins the team, and he's here for the rest of the entire series, basically perfectly fulfilling a 6th Ranger requirement in a weird season like that, just like Deca Ranger did. The next 2 seasons really have no problems on figuring out who it would be. Toku Rokugo from TwoKaiser fulfills the requirement in both number and in second quarter catalog stuff. And Ninja's Star Ninja also fulfills that requirement quite well as, you know, being the 6th member to join the team, even though he was very, very early. I don't think anyone would argue the fact that Juo the World is the 6th Ranger for Zyuohger. However, technically, the 6th Zyuohger would be Juo Bird, since he doesn't transform with one of the Champions cubes. He transforms, well, you know, with Juo the Light, but he was kind of an artificially created Zyuohger created by the Death Galleon, the evil guys. You know, but of course he fulfills the requirement in joining the team 6th. He comes in with a new changer. He comes in with Tosai Juo. So yeah, he's the 6th. He also kind of fulfills that requirement of kind of looking different from the main team, but also still fitting in with the overall aesthetic of the series. So Juo the World is, he's the 6th. I mean, I don't really think there's much to argue on that point, with Bird being an extra hero. Kyuranger is a tough nut to crack. They have 12 Rangers, and technically there can be 3 candidates for a 6th Ranger, all valid reasons too. Technically, the first one could be Hibitsukai Silver. He transforms with the Hibitsukai Kyutama, number 6. He is a Silver Ranger, which is a common color used by the 6th, but he uses the Saiza Changer. He comes in with his own mecha very early on. He's part of the core team from the first quarter catalog, so he doesn't really fulfill that requirement whatsoever. So I don't see how you could consider him the 6th. The second candidate has a lot more weight to it. This is Ryu Commander. He shows up with the second quarter stuff. He shows up around the time 6 Rangers show up at this point. He comes in with a new changer and a new mecha. But no, I don't consider him the 6th. I used to consider Ryu Commander the 6th Ranger of Kyuranger, and there's even a video game, which is a pretty recent video game, I think it goes up to Kira Major, which shows Ryu Commander as the 6th for the team, and I disagree. I think that the 6th for the Kyuranger team, of course not in number for this one, would be Ho Soldier, the 12th Kyuranger, the final Kyuranger. I guess it does help he's divisible by 6, although that's not an important reason enough. But he comes in with the number 12 Kyutama, which of course also doesn't fit the number, but he comes in with his own changer. He comes in with Gigan Ho-Oh. He also debuts around the time of the stereotypical, at least in the olden days, debut of a 6th Ranger. You know, now we have 6 Rangers debuting in episode 8. He debuted in the early 20s, which is when 6 Rangers used to show up. The next season, Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger, is kind of an Abba Ranger, Geki Ranger situation as well. Technically, the 6th member of the team would be, I guess, what, Pata and Sango, if you lined up, like, the 3 Lupin Rangers and then the 3 Pata Rangers. But of course, I'm sure everyone would consider it to be another Go on Wings situation, or if you're on my side with Beat and Stagbuster, you consider it a Go Buster situation as well. And that is Lupin Ranger and Pata Ranger each have a 6 in the form of X. So Patarin X and Lupin X, the Gold and the Silver Rangers, are the same person, so it's not like you have 2 people like go on Gold and go on Silver. And I don't really consider these 2 separate forms. I do consider them 2 separate Rangers that just one individual uses. Kind of like how Tommy from Power Rangers uses 5 different Ranger suit powers, and they're not really forms of his like a typical Kamen Rider would be, or like, you know, Max Russo Red or something. That's a form. But I consider the 2 Lupin Ranger X, the Lupin and X Pot X is kind of, you know, what I consider 2 separate Rangers, one for each team. You know that they're only the 4th member for each team. They fulfill that 6th role by showing up later, coming with a changer, coming with a mecha, which actually is the changer, and all that stuff. And also the gold and silver factor, but you know, that's not a deafening, like, 100% confirmation on which is a 6th. And pretty much ever since Lupin Ranger versus Pata Ranger, we've had a pretty consistent lineup of undeniable, really, 6ths. We had Russo Gold. I really don't think you can argue that point, especially since Guy Solg and Russo Brown fit the perfect example of extra heroes. You also have Kirame Silver from Kira Major, with Kirame Gold being a good extra hero, so that's pretty good right there. And then, of course, with the present day with Zenkaiger, TwoKaiser fits the perfect role of a 6th. 6 Rangers are, overall, a really, really cool concept that, of course, is just kind of strange. Most seasons, if you look at a season like Mega Ranger or something, or a season like Time Ranger, it's really hard to say anything that isn't just, yeah, they're the 6th, and both member of the team, and when they appeared, and when that happens. You know, even a more recent season like Akira Major fit that mold perfectly, where there's really not much room for any kind of argument on who a 6th is. But it's these weird seasons that really kind of bring this conversation to light and make things really interesting to talk about, and that's why I wanted to discuss things here today and kind of discuss who is a 6th and why do I think that they're a 6th in that, situation. What do you think is a 6th? What seasons do you disagree with me on for their 6th, or do you pretty much agree with that? Do you go off of TwoKaiser logic, or do you like to stray away from that and have your own beliefs on the 6th? Of course, that's totally valid. It's not like, who cares really who the 6th is? I like figuring it out, but there's still a ranger and a valid member of the team in their own right, regardless of what the number says. But yeah, that's all I have. Thank you guys for watching this video here on Toku Topics, where we will always be discussing really cool, interesting things I want to ramble on about. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter at either LivingRangerKey or at LightningFigPR. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Tokusatsu forever.